Well, I want to say I'm so sorry um, for having spoken at 80% of conferences that you've been to. That is far too many times to hear my voice. So I do apologize for anyone who has. This is a very strange start. I'm going to rewind. I'm here today to talk about Nuxt and Vite. And if you have been at any of those conferences, I haven't talked about it. So this is a new thing that I was working on all day yesterday, and I didn't manage to actually hit the release button. But I would like to share some interesting things with you that no one else knows yet. But first, my name is Daniel Rowe. I'm a full-time open source maintainer, which honestly is the best job in the world. I get to build cool things. I get to help people. I get to fix my own bugs. And I get to come to conferences like this and meet people who actually use some of the things I built. And that is truly, truly amazing. I'm on the Nuxt team. I lead that. I'm on the Nitro team as well. I've got some other projects also, and you can contact me if you want at my website, rowe.dev. If there's anything I can do to help you. So if you're building something, if you spot a bug, if you have a cool idea, or there's some other way I can help, I would love to do it. You can get in touch with me on pretty much any social media network you can imagine, except for Twitter, for obvious reasons. I am a GDE, a Microsoft MVP, a GitHub star, and I'm employed at Vercel. And I live in Edinburgh. I'm not originally from there, but I'm doing my best to fit in by enjoying lots of single malt whiskey, wearing a kilt on occasion. You know, you can't just wear any kilt. You have to have the right kilt that matches your ancestry, or you can wear a certain number of kilts that are reserved for the use of absolutely anybody. So I think there's some royal kilts, if you want to investigate that. That QR code will enable you to send emojis to the screen, if you want to do that. I'm sorry. But also, you're welcome. Nuxt. If you haven't come across Nuxt before, it is a meta framework. Vue was originally marketed as a progressive framework. It is a progressive framework. And actually, someone asked me, why did you pick Vue? And for me, the answer was the fact that I could render some HTML from the server, from Laravel or WordPress, pull in Vue from a CDN, and actually it worked. It worked. It made it reactive, and I could build stuff without actually having to configure a build pipeline or anything else. And the idea of a progressive framework is that you should be able to start using it where you are. And then as you need to go further, it goes with you, it grows with you, allows you to configure it, and it allows you to do more and more and more. And that inspiration really lies behind Nuxt. And that's what we want. We want something that is zero config, has best practices built in, but lets you make it your own. And the benefit of doing something like this is, as we've heard before, that the power, Evan was talking about, the power of convention is less cognitive load. You immediately know where you're sitting. But I think another power when it comes to convention, something like a meta framework, is that you're actually able to benefit from the knowledge and expertise of others. And that's not, by the way, my knowledge and expertise. The benefit of a project like Nuxt is not that it has downloads or stars, but that it has a lot of people behind it. So Nuxt, we have had over 950 contributors, according to GitHub. We are a community-built framework. We're not driven by the agenda of a company. We are driven by the needs of the people who use Nuxt. That's how I got involved in open source, because I was building a product on top of Nuxt, and I spotted some bugs or features, or probably I needed help first. That's how I got involved. But that's what makes Nuxt what it is. Now, there are some complexities when it comes to Nuxt and Vite. And we first added Vite support in Nuxt in version 3, and also via a module in version 2. But we were in the middle of a long and complex migration to Nuxt 3. We were building this, and we started from scratch. We actually we didn't use a single line of code. There was Vue 2 to Vue 3. There was Webpack 4 to 5. And there was so much to reimagine. The worst thing of all was this one GitHub user, Evan. Because while we had lots of users, we were built on Webpack, we knew how that worked. Everything about Nuxt was set up to work within that ecosystem. And then Evan comes, and in the middle of our building of Nuxt version 3, he releases some release candidate for Vite version 1 a couple of months after we start. That's terrible, isn't it? And then releases version 2 in February. We had, by the way, Puya wrote Nuxt Vite, a module to enable Vite in Nuxt 2 projects, within 5 days after the release of Vite 2. So I think that's pretty fast. Congrats, Puya. That will surprise nobody. But this was terrible, because it meant we had to figure out how to adopt Vite, which was clearly going to be a much better default experience for users, without throwing all of the people who are already slightly being thrown under the bus yet further under the bus and making their migration even more difficult. So we decided to adopt a bundler-agnostic architecture in Nuxt. And it fits absolutely very well in with the rest of our philosophy, which is, as much as possible, we want to allow people to change and customize and do what they need to do. So we'll give them the best experience we can for bundlers, but they should be able to change that, right? They should be able to use a different build if they need to. Just as Puya explained the idea of actually being able to switch out our own first-party H3 with Eliseo or Hono. Why not? Choice is as close as I can imagine to a fundamental value of the web, and it is something that we very much stand for. So we built Nuxt to be bundler agnostic, and this is what happens when you run the Nuxt dev server, if you were ever wondering. First, we pass the arguments with Kitty, another Andreas project. We look, is there anywhere in the user's project a Nuxt kit install? This is our SDK. It enables backwards and forwards compatibility. So you can actually do things like, hey, load a Nuxt instance, even if you don't know how that Nuxt instance works, because your tool is older and the Nuxt project you're interacting with is newer. Or the other way around. Maybe you have a new tool or module and the user is still back on Nuxt 2. So we have this Nuxt Kit SDK. And we look for that, and then we use that to read the user's configuration to see what port they want to listen to, whether they have a secure server, all kinds of stuff like this. And then we launch the server. And then in the background, actually, this is quite cool. I spent some time, it's cool to me, sorry, I'll get back to the topic in a moment, but I was trying to speed up the Nuxt CLI, and there were so many micro optimizations. It was so fun. It was so fun, honestly, to see the number go. That's basically, it's so much serotonin. It's great. So, or dopamine, one or the other, maybe both. It was good feelings all around. But basically, normally when we start a Nuxt server, we start it in a fork. So that means that if we need to hard restart it because your dependencies have changed, we can. Because believe it or not, Nuxt can actually update itself while you're running it. It can install more modules and then reload itself and reload the fresh dependencies from the file system. So we have to be able to do that, and that means it has to run in a separate process. But every time you start a fork in Node, it adds some 100 milliseconds of overhead. So the first time you start Nuxt, it loads it right there in the same process. And then when we need to restart, we actually pre-warm a fork. We don't run any code, but we do the work in Node of creating the fork, and it's ready to go when you need it. That was so much fun. I'm sorry, it's a total distraction, but I love it. I love doing that. Then we resolve user configuration. It's complex. We have resolvers. We have to figure out what all the options are. They depend on different things. We create watchers to look for various files. Are they going to change? Is your Nuxt config going to change? We have a hookable system because Nuxt is deeply configurable. And we install modules. And if you haven't come across Nuxt modules, there are lots of them. There's over 290. This is, by the way, live data. It's different every time I look at it. But there's lots of modules, and they allow you to change almost everything about Nuxt. In fact, remember when I said we adopted Vite in Nuxt version 2 via a module? We changed the entire build system of Nuxt via a module. They're phenomenally powerful. So we install all of them, create a virtual file system that's going to be the basis of our app and our server, and then we load and run a builder, which is responsible for transforming all of the user code and all of the Nuxt configuration into a runnable app. So we support Vite, which is the default. It requires no config. Webpack, you can specify. RSPack, you can specify. This is made possible by the incredible API similarity between the two of them. You can provide your own function, or you can provide even a string that is just a package that can be imported. No one has yet actually built, that I'm aware, a bundler for another Nuxt bundler. So maybe I just haven't told people that this is possible. But this is possible. This is something that you can do. Anyway, we have, I should say, if you're in any doubt, the popularity of the Nuxt Vite builder versus the other ones is 600 times more popular than both of the other first-party builders combined. And I don't know how to feel about that. I really don't know how to feel about that. So someone should make another bundler, and I'm sure you'll still be very welcome at ViteConf. But yes, it's abstracted, which I think is a good thing. Builders are responsible for creating a server, and they're responsible for creating the client files. And then all of that, they'll also get an array of plugins. We use Unplugin to allow plugins to be created which aren't specific to any one bundler. So Unplugin supports almost anything you can think of. It supports writing plugins that work on ESBuild, on Farm, on RSPack, on Vite, in Rolldown and Rollup, and almost anything else. All credit to the amazing Anthony Fu. And that means that builders, for us in Nuxt, really can be workable in almost any environment where you are actually able to inject those plugins and use Nuxt. So this is the kind of code we write in Nuxt itself. We'll add a build plugin, we'll pass it some options, and we'll say, is this going to apply to the client or server? And then Nitro comes in and processes that output, that server file. In development mode for Vite, we have a complex process, which is basically the Vite environment API, but before it was created. So Nitro will run a Vite node runner in one thread. Vite node is a project of Anthony Fu also. It fetches module code from Vite and runs it in this separate thread. And Vite over here is creating that code, and Nitro over there is consuming it in development time. And this is what it looks like. This is not a recording. This is actually, I did something very cursed. This is actually a terminal. I exposed it via a WebSocket. I'm sure there's no security issues with that, right? And so you can see what happens, right? The Vite client is built, the server is built, the Nuxt Nitro server is built, the Vite client is warmed up, and the Vite server is warmed up. And that's because of our architecture, which Puya also talked about in his talk. How we're working is we are creating these two different environments. We're building them. We're passing stuff over to Nitro. Nitro is having its own build, and so on. But the Vite Environment API changes everything. So it formalizes the concept of different environments. So we can have development, we can have production, development matching quite well. We can have things like client and SSR, and we can even have more. And by bringing it all into one place, you can only have one watcher. You can be cleverer about how you invalidate things in the module graph. It makes me very happy, all of these things. So our previous Vite Builder workflow was something like this. We were able to start, extend configuration, allow modules to do that, and then set up the server one by one. And this took time, but it was very orderly and convenient. This is what it now looks like. We basically, with the Vite environment API, we still call the hooks, so module authors and other integrations still work, roughly. But then we only start one dev server, and all of the previous code that you might have written in a Nuxt app that relied on knowing which environment was being created can be moved into a Vite plugin and basically be simplified and be made a little bit more performant. So it is with very great pleasure that I tell you that I'm not releasing Nuxt 4.2 today, but it will be released quite soon with an asterisk over the quite. It is going to have some cool stuff. So the Vite environment API is a breaking change, which we have promised in Nuxt 5. But we are going to ship it in Nuxt 4. And you'll be able to opt into it with a compatibility version flag. I think that's pretty cool. We're going to have a new Nuxt package, Nuxt Nitro Server. And we're going to apply the same kind of builder-agnostic mentality we have to Nitro itself. Not because we don't want you to use Nitro, but because we're actually going to opt into the Nitro environment API. And so we want to be able to do that within the Vite builder. And what's more, this also means we're going to be able to ship Nitro version 3 to you in Nuxt 4. Not in Nuxt 4.2, but this does mean we will be able to ship it without the need for a major version. Well, the major version is still coming, but I think you'll be very happy to be able to test it out sooner than that. We have a PR open switching to Nitro version 3 for Nuxt, and all but 2 tests are passing. There's an important word choice there. We're also shipping some other cool things in Nuxt 4.2. So we're shipping an automatically extractable async data. This sounds like total jargon. I promise you it's real. And when we tried it out on Nuxt.com, it reduced JavaScript by 39%. It reduced unused JavaScript by 66%. We're pre-computing our bundle renderer. So it's a very small part of the total time it takes to return an SSR request. But that tiny part is now 15 times faster. We have a new dev time error page, which I think you'll really love. And also, we have one of the most exciting things for a developer experience. We have an opt-in TypeScript plugin that is just for Nuxt, and it lets you do a lot of cool things, like you can click your runtime config and see where it's defined, or you can click a server route, like you're fetching from an API route, click it, and you go straight to the endpoint where that data is coming from within your Nitro server. A lot of extremely cool things, and if you're interested, do check out KazariX's repo and maybe contribute to it. And this is what, because I want to prove that it actually does exist, this is what the new environment API start looks like. When we migrated in the PR that I have pending to Nuxt, our benchmark reported a 25% speed up in the initial build of a minimal Nuxt app. That is unlikely to be replicated in a large app. Like so many of these things, the thing you're measuring, you obviously want it to be sped up as much as possible, but in an actual app, there's going to be a lot more things contributing to total time, and therefore it gets watered down. But still, 25%, we'll take that. And so yes, we also tested this out on Nuxt.com and found there are other benefits, right? We tested it out on Nuxt.com and found it was as simple as changing just the package JSON to test out this PR. So if you want to try out the environment API today, you can try that, or you can wait for the opt-in version with Nuxt 4.2. And now, I feel a bit embarrassed about this next bit because these are experiments. And I'm not really sure if I should share experiments because they might not happen, okay? So you really have to be willing to dial it back and not tell anyone about these. You can tell people about them, that would also be fine. So this is something that I'm not promising. We're exploring the idea of Nuxt as a Vite plugin, not as the main way that people encounter it. Nuxt offers far more if you use it on its own. We have our own ecosystem. We can do a lot of very, very cool things by owning the beginning to the end of the process, particularly in development. But there might be some cases where it's useful for Nuxt to be a Vite plugin, such as, for example, integration with something like Vite+. And so this is something that we do want to explore, and you can watch this space. We'll see what comes. And you think I'm joking. You really think I'm joking. But we're also exploring the idea of the Nuxt dev server as a Rust package. And if you're a Rust expert, I would love to hear from you. But it actually exists. So this is running in my local server. That is Rust running the Nuxt dev server. And I promise it really does work. Even WebSockets. And the start time, that's a console log, by the way, that exists, is expected. And we found that the startup of the Nuxt dev server, I don't know whether this makes it worthwhile. This is why it's still exploration, okay? And I'm sorry to be sharing with my experiments with you, but we found that the startup time of the Nuxt server from hitting enter to the server is ready went from 800 milliseconds to 500 with this. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff going on there, like on the Nuxt end. But from the Rust end, it's almost instant. Can you see how instant that is? Like before that was, but if you ever start doing Rust, you start doing this. You're like, hey, it's fast. I can just do it over and over again. So it's pretty cool. And it's something that we're actively looking at. And yeah, if you're interested in, but nobody knows about it. Like literally nobody else knows about it. It's just this room. So it's pretty cool. And we're looking forward to seeing what else we can do to make Nuxt fast, performant, and deeply integrated into Vite and the ecosystem. If you're interested in any of that, please do get in contact. Check out nuxt.com or join the Discord. DM me. I would love to hear from you. There is so much cool stuff that we can build together because that is the power of using something that is a community project. We make it better for everyone. And a final offer. If you go to my website, ro.dev/chat, I have an open diary. If there is any way I can help, I would love to do that. If you're interested in getting involved in open source, it doesn't have to be any project I'm involved in. I'd love to help you do that. If you would like to be involved in a project I'm involved in, and you're a bit nervous or you're anxious, you feel maybe you're not from the same background as the other people already in the project, you're not sure whether you would be welcome, please book a call with me. I would love to tell you that I would love to have you. Yeah, if there's anything else I can do, please, again, don't hesitate. That's oh, and the QR code will let you follow a starter pack on Blue Sky of the Nuxt ecosystem team. There are over 20 members of the community who help make Nuxt what it is, including, I see him right on the front row, Bobby, but others, I think, probably here as well. Thank you so much for having me. It has been a real pleasure and a delight to talk to you.